But again, don't feel like this is like for an audience. I think it's better when it's just kind of us talking about stuff, which is cool for me. Hopefully, probably not as cool for you guys. But I will start
Nah,
my
we're happy to be here.
timer and then I'll count us down. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GK4FREE podcast. My name is Hunter Gilstrap. This is actually the first GK4FREE podcast that we have done in almost a year and a half, and probably with the intention of the last time we did it, not ever doing one again. But that's not how life works. So we're back, and the reason for that was this opportunity to get to talk to a couple guys that I've known and worked with since I was really a pretty young coach. And these guys are young guys, but they're two guys that are now pros in MLS and the USL Championship, and we're gonna talk to them a little bit today about their experiences so far and their journey and kind of where they're at, and some of their thoughts on big picture and the details and the challenges and all the stuff that I think everyone gets really excited to hear a pro's perspective on. So we're here today with Dane Jacomen and Ben Martino, and Dane is a goalkeeper for Loudoun United in the USL, and Ben Martino from Nashville SC in Major League Soccer. And both these guys are guys that I've coached since they were young Pittsburgh kids, and now they're not young Pittsburgh kids anymore. Dane's in his second year as a pro, and Ben is a rookie. So we'll get into a little bit about what that means for them. Actually, you know what? This will be better if I just let you guys do it, because I think I can tell a pretty good story about who you are, but why don't I let you guys give each just like a 2-minute bio about who you are, where you came from, and what you're doing. So Dane, why don't you go first, and then we'll let Ben go.
All right. What's up, everybody? Thanks for hopping on. I'm Dane from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Ben and I have known each other since we were little kids. We lived a couple blocks away from each other in Squirrel Hill in Pittsburgh, and smacked this guy around in Little League back in the day.
Whoa.
Let's not get off track just yet.
Yeah. So we'll keep it on soccer for now. So yeah, I grew up playing for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds Development Academy. I went to Taylor Alderdice High School. Was fortunate enough there to play a decent amount my freshman season, hopping right on the varsity squad. And for me, that was kind of the turning point in my young career of wanting to take that next step in my trajectory. I realized that, even though I was playing against a bunch of guys older than me, as this 13-year-old kid, I was like, you know what, this is something that fires me up and something I'm good at, and enlisted the help of Hunter here and joined, first the Riverhounds Goalkeeper Academy, training at Green Tree back in the day. And then that grew to, being a member of the RDA for a couple of years. So did that freshman through junior year. And then senior year, moved down to the area I'm in right now, the DMV, to play for DC United Academy team. So I did that my senior year, played on the DC U17s back when it was Development Academy. And yeah, I was fortunate enough to get some really good experience down here. Played a lot of games, Generation Adidas Cup, trained the first team, all that. And so I took that experience into my college career, went to University of Pennsylvania for 4 years. 3 of those years, which I played pretty consistently. Obviously, we had the COVID year in the middle of that. And then, yeah, fast forward now, I signed my first professional contract when I graduated this past spring. So I was with Loudoun United in the USL Championship for, I guess, a little bit over half of the USL season last year. Got a couple of games under my belt, both on loan in League One, and got one game in the USL Championship. And and also appeared against Bayern Munich for DC United on loan, which is probably the highlight of the year so far. And yeah, now my first professional preseason with Loudoun United, and really excited to go into this first full professional season coming up.
Cool. Thanks, Dane. And I'm going to stop you there. There's a couple things I want to get into in a little bit. One, I want to talk about kind of how you decide to transition from college to the pro game, but we'll circle back after we hear from Ben and get Ben's version of events on his journey from Taylor Alderdice High School to Nashville SC. Like you.
All right. So, yeah, what's up, guys? Happy to bring the pod back. I'm Ben. Like Dane said, I've known him since we were little kids playing in Little League together. And I hit a few dingers off this kid, so I don't know what he's talking about. But, yeah, so I started my soccer career with just like playing out of middle school, playing with Pittsburgh Dynamo, and then also went to Alderdice High School, and I was also playing for the Riverhounds Goalkeeper Academy and then the actual Riverhounds Academy. Yeah, so I played freshman, sophomore year at Alderdice, and then I also went to an MLS academy. I went to the Philadelphia Union and their academy set up there for my junior and senior year. I played also in the DA back when that was a thing. And I also played some with their USL championship team, Bethlehem Steel / Philadelphia Union 2, when they were in the USL championship. And then also, first team opportunities, training with the first team, stuff like that. Then graduated from high school, went to Virginia Tech for 2 seasons, and then Nashville SC bought my homegrown rights from Philly, and left college early and signed with them. And now preseason just wrapped up and the season has started. So this is rookie year. So yeah.
Cool. So now I think the first thing I want to talk about, there's so many, I already want to get kind of off script with the questions, but I'm not going to. First thing I want to touch on for both of you guys is you had, similar but very different sort of paths to where you're at right now. And obviously all of your success is probably because you got to work with me from an early age, but
surely
aside from that part of why we're here talking about this, is you both were very good goalkeepers that had opportunities to pro interest before college was finished. So I think, Dane, we'll go back to you and kind of ask you this first, because your path was a little more traditional and probably honestly, a lot more goalkeepers that get the opportunity to go pro sort of end up finishing college and then taking that step. But you actually had the opportunity to join Loudoun United, DC United organization before you finished school. So just talk real quickly about, your decision to not join Loudoun in preseason and make sure you finish school and why that was important. Because I think that's an important one for people to hear, young goalkeepers especially.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, first of all, going back to kind of just, the way I was raised, kind of the values that, my parents have given me, and education was always something we took very seriously. And, made a promise to my mom pretty early on that I'll get my college degree first and foremost. And, that's something that, of course, you can kind of do further down along the line, like I'm sure Ben will do, either during your professional career or afterwards. But I mean, for me,
better do.
Yeah, I was like, I'm
for
happy.
Sure.
I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy at this school. I'm happy where I'm at soccer wise as well. I think we did a good job at Penn of developing The coaches, that is, did a good job of developing us kind of as players and people. And I'm sure we'll touch on this a little bit more, but I think I experienced a tremendous amount of personal growth throughout my college experience. And obviously that ties into soccer, that ties into the game, especially at a professional level, which I'm learning kind of on the job, that it's not just about what you do on the field. There's just so much more else that goes into it, whether it's like relationships with your teammates, coaches, kind of who you have in that inner circle, that's helping along in that process. And yeah, just kind of learning how to be comfortable in my own skin was something that I struggled to do like during college, and I never really was at a place where I wanted to like rush out of that, because I knew that it was an important process to really hammer down all the way until the end. And I also had that confidence and trust in myself that even though I might be taking a less traditional route as far as, picking up with a professional team in the middle of its season, not getting that full preseason in, I think I knew that the staff here at Loudoun was already familiar with me and kind of like what I'm about, which definitely gave me a lot of confidence going into it. And then B, yeah, I just had that confidence in myself that, you know what, I'm going to go in and control what I can control and put in the work every day. And ultimately in the long run, like I'm going to get to where I want to be. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's super cool to hear, because I think, so many, an Ivy League degree is obviously a big deal. I mean, that's going to set you up for success. Any opportunity to go to school in an institution like that, it's just going to set you up for the rest of your life. But I think the hardest thing to keep in mind and sort of front of mind as you're getting to the end of your college career, and you're starting to, understand that there might be a real opportunity to become a professional and to do this for a job. I think it's so hard to keep that perspective of, well, if I fast forward to 10 or 15 years down the road, like that degree is going to be, I won't say more important than the opportunity that you might have to play pro soccer, but at least equally important, probably more important, because if you look at the average, career of anyone that signs a pro contract, it's not that long. So I think it's just really cool that you were able to kind of honestly take a risk, if you look at it from a soccer opportunity perspective, and say, you know what, like I'm going to wait, I'm going to see what happens, and I'm going to make sure that I finish my degree. And I just have tons of respect for you for doing that, because I think it's really cool, and you don't see that a ton. Can't tell you how many guys I know that were 3.5 years through their college experience, and because that preseason was starting in January or February, they didn't finish, and some never finished. A lot of them went back to finish how many years later. But so kudos to you and that perspective. And we'll get more into like the challenges and the actual playing experience and how that ride's been. But, I'm sure it's easy to look back from time to time and say, well, maybe I would have had more opportunity to play. Maybe I would have had more opportunity to kind of compete for that one spot had I been there from the jump. But, looking back on that with that sort of perspective, I think you've already learned in your short career is probably not the most efficient waste or the most efficient use of your headspace. So we'll jump back into the next one, and not to like, I also want to make sure it doesn't sound like, oh, Ben, like how could you, like, how irresponsible of you to like leave and not finish school and be, but it's different because you were, I'll let you kind of tell your story of deciding to not finish college, and to make a decision, because completely different timeline than Dane's. Dane was like 3.5 years where a lot of would leave and have a little bit of school left. You've got a lot of school left, I assume, after 1.5 years of school, right? Or did you go early at all?
Yeah, no. Obviously, like all of us went up in the summer, but like that's not a full semester,
right?
Yeah, but
so walk us through like the end of your, like when you started to figure out your timeline, right? So like I haven't had these conversations with you. I don't know if it was, you finished your first year and you had an idea of, what pro opportunities might be there, or you got through your second season or during your second season, that's what I want to hear you kind of talk through how you got there, what those opportunities look like.
For sure. Yeah. So I think that stuff sort of started for me. There were 2 points that come to mind. The first is leaving the Union's Academy my senior year. I was very excited for the prospect of a fresh start, and like college is just gonna, just be this completely different thing. And then but I always, like, my goal was certainly to be a professional, and it wasn't something that I wanted to rush, but it was certainly something that, like, as soon as I have prospects of going pro and it's like something that's real and could actually be like a great situation for me, then I would consider leaving early. But it was never like, oh, I'm just gonna go to college. Like, some people have that mentality that they're like, it's just like one and done. Like, I'm gonna go to college. Like, I need to get back into the pro game as soon as possible. And I've seen that in, like, academy guys and stuff like that. And then they leave college and then it's like they're not really in good situations. So I think seeing that definitely helped me to sort of construct my own plan. And even though I was young, I was like, I need to be really responsible about how I'm going to do this and like have a strategy and how I'm going to approach this and everything. So freshman season, I played pretty much every game and it was going well, but it wasn't like, as soon as the freshman season ended, it wasn't like, okay, like I need to get out of college. I need to get back like to the pro environment. Like, that wasn't really where my headspace was at. It was sort of like, this is a great first step in this goal that I'm trying to reach. And like, I'm happy with how it went. Now I need to assess and kind of see what the next step is going to be. And then I got, at that point, I had an advisor, important distinction, not an agent, because you can't have that. And he sort of told me that, like, I had a lot of like interest from different teams. And he basically said, if you have another year like this, then you'll have really good prospects to leave and go pro. So that was exciting, and it was something I kept in the back of my head, but I wasn't approaching that sophomore year like this is all or nothing. It was kind of just like, just approach it the same way you did freshman year, just enjoy it and develop and play games and just see what happens. Like, there's no type of rush. And then sophomore season, obviously I played every game and I was a captain, but our team had a lot of issues and we didn't have a good season. And I was still playing really well and I felt like I was developing well. And when that season ended, I think there were definitely a lot of factors, but I think, just like having that poor record was just sort of like wore me down. And I was like, you know what, maybe it is best for my development to leave. But it was also like, I don't know how these results are affecting my prospects of leaving. So it was kind of a stressful period. And then yeah, it was, we were about to play like an ACC playoff game or ACC tournament game or whatever. And I got a call from the GM of Nashville and they said, hey, we bought your rights already and we want to offer you a contract. And it was honestly the perfect situation for me because I didn't really want to go back to Philly, as bad as that sounds, but like, from anyone who knows anything about the goalkeeping situations and MLS teams, it makes plenty of sense that I wouldn't want to go back to the place where I was playing for the second team and I'd be like fourth string to the best goalkeeper in the league. And it was also just like very exciting for me to have another prospect of a fresh start that wasn't like, that was the same feeling I had going to college. So it was kind of just the perfect opportunity. And I said to myself, like, this is exciting and like this could be really, really good, but I also like need to make sure like that the contract is right and all that stuff. And obviously figured all that out with my agent and my parents. And then I got the offer and it was like, this is definitely good enough for me to leave. And I think this is going to be a really good situation for me there. So then I just decided that was what I was gonna do.
Very cool. And then what are you going to do for the rest of your college?
So initially, like it was kind of difficult trying to figure everything out with like it. This is not to talk bad on Virginia Tech or anything at all, but it just like it wasn't. I didn't receive the help that I thought I was going to receive to the people that I reached out to, and I felt kind of on my own, and it sort of seemed like, okay, if I want to get my Virginia Tech degree, then the only thing I can really do is just save my money and then do online there. And like, because I felt like I valued a degree from Virginia Tech a lot more than like whatever, online university was connected with the MLS. So, and I could be doing that, but I just decided that I want to get it with Virginia Tech. So I'm just putting money away right now, and I have like different things built into my contract. Like as time goes on, that will help me with that. So yeah.
Okay. The right answer is just that you're going to get it done as quickly as possible in whatever way that makes the
Yeah.
most sense. And there's a lot of guys out there. I think specifically, I mean, obviously I know goalkeepers better than I know anything else just because it's what I pay attention to. But I know guys that have played a long time. They're like close to my age. They're still playing or just retired. And there's a lot of examples of, guys that have never worked a 9 to 5 yet in their mid to late 30s, early 30s, who, finished school, without ever even going to a university, like a in-person university, and then went on to do their, postgraduate degrees after that. So, and some of those guys are, coming out now and they're going to have great opportunities to be successful right after. So this is not the point of this conversation to talk about how important it is that you guys set yourself up for success in a life after soccer. But, I think that I would be missing an opportunity to drive home an important point if I didn't get that across. But like we can now start to get into the little more fun stuff and start to talk about you guys, what's going on right now and how, your thoughts and feelings around your experiences this season and then preseason. So let's jump into that and let's go back over to Dane. And let's just start talking a little bit about, where you're at right now. Dane, I know you're still in preseason. Ben, your season just opened up last week. So Dane, why don't you tell us about how your preseason's going just in a, quick snapshot, couple minutes.
Yeah, so I think our team's in a very good spot right now, to be honest. We have a very positive start to camp, to preseason, and everything we've been doing has been in-house as far as like there's no preseason in Florida, like, maybe some other teams. But I think that's been good for us because, we're getting acclimated with our environment, our surroundings, our field facilities, etc. And I think for us, having so many new guys in our squad, that's really important. I'm only one of 4 returners from last year, which is like, I haven't been around the program enough really to know, but it seems like a very small number compared to a lot of other teams around the league. So that's something that we'll be up against this year as far as having to build that chemistry, that understanding, those relationships on and off the field, and so far so good in that respect. Yeah, I think we're coming along very nicely and probably a little bit ahead of the curve compared to other teams that might be in a similar situation. We have a very small squad as well, probably I think around 17 to 18 signed guys right now. And so with the nature of being affiliated with, whether it's like the DC Academy or DC First Team, which, Loudoun is not anymore a direct second team reserve affiliate to DC United, because DC United actually just sold their majority stake in Loudoun, which, is a whole different conversation that's allowed us to do some other things as far as, signing more players, more quality players,
Right.
etc. So that's something that's honestly built a lot of positive momentum already going into the season, to know that we have some independent backing. But we also still have that assurance that we'll be able to draw maybe a couple of first team guys and their
Right.
experience from the DC United squad coming down at various points in the season. and then also the academy guys training with us and maybe, getting on rosters and stuff like that. It's, yeah, just a lot of people like pushing that level higher and higher from various points in their careers. And I think that's coming together very nicely right now for us as a pretty young team. So, I mean, I know results don't carry too much weight in preseason and stuff like that, but I mean, what is our record now? It doesn't even matter, but we opened up against Red Bull first team, which was a difficult game for us, and didn't get the result, but we took a lot of positives from the game as far as just being able to compete with a team that was pretty much a month ahead of us in their timeline,
Right.
as far as like being in the preseason, already being fit, playing matches, all that. So we used that as a starting point, and then went over and played Richmond Kickers, played the DC United first team, which I will just say we beat them 3-1. So that was a great feeling for us. And in all seriousness, that's a really important experience for us to take into the rest of this preseason and regular season, because that's not the standard for us. Like,
Right.
we can step on the field with an MLS side and honestly be better than them on the day. Then we can do that against any team in USL Championship if we just hold ourselves to that standard. So, yeah, I'm really excited to test ourselves against a couple other teams. We're going to North Carolina this weekend to play NCFC of League One, and then as of now, we're scheduled to play Union 2 one more time. We just played them last week. The Fighting Ben Martinos. So yeah,
No affiliation.
no, sorry. No more homegrown. Yeah, and then we open up March 11th on the road against Memphis, and home openers March 19th against San Antonio. So yeah, just counting down the days, really.
Well, awesome. Excited to hear that it's going so well and you've had some good results so far. We'll jump over to Ben. Ben, why don't you? And I guess the only thing that we left out of that, Dane, was how many weeks in are you guys so far, approximately?
What's the date? The 27th, 28th. We're about a month in, a little bit more, 5 weeks.
So you guys are like in total looking at like 6 or 7 weeks of preseason until your first game. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And I just think it's important to throw out there because, like, up until this point in any soccer player's life, like a preseason is like 10 to 14 days. Do you know what I mean? Like, and now, like,
Yes.
especially when we jump into Ben's situation, it's probably even a little bit longer than 6 or 7 weeks. So Ben, why don't you just give us a quick, again, sort of snapshot on how your preseason's gone so far and where you're at right now, and then we'll start to talk a little bit about some of the sort of personal challenges and surprises. We got 5 minutes left before this meeting will shut off on the free version. So if you get stuck, like, you should know that it has shut off. But then I'll just start a new meeting and invite you guys in, and we'll go for another 10 or 15 minutes unless you guys have to go. It goes fast.
Let's rock this thing. No, let's rock this thing out.
Okay.
All day.
All right.
I got nowhere to be.
All right. So go ahead. Preseason.
Yeah. So for me, I was sort of thrown into things right away because the number 2 got injured, which is sort of just a testament to, you never really know what to expect and what opportunities to expect. They might come right away just on some freak incident. So you should always be ready. But I played pretty much in every scrimmage, so I got to immediately play against some MLS teams, which was super cool. And that was a really great new experience for me, especially to play with such an experienced roster. And that was really exciting for me. Obviously, like the first couple of days of, or like I guess the first segment of preseason for us, we sort of operated on 2 periods of like 2.5 weeks when we were in Florida. So that first period was kind of all just training. We had 2 matches, one against the US U20s and then one against Red Bull. So I wasn't really, the number 2 didn't get injured until like the day before the Red Bull game. So then, like, as soon as that happened, they're like, yeah, you're going to play 45 against Red Bull. So that was nice because I felt like the first week or so of preseason, I was sort of just like finding my rhythm and, just like trying to break into a really experienced group. And then I felt like being able to play in that Red Bulls game was like sort of a reward. It was also like a really good test for me to just see where I'm at. So that was really cool. Then I also played with the U20s, and that was good. And it was a nice opportunity for us to sort of just like show our class and show our experience. So we handled that well. And then we were in Tampa 2.5 weeks, close to 3 weeks, and then we went back to Nashville for about 10 days. And that was all just actually we had one scrimmage. We played a USL championship team and also got to play in that. And yeah, after that 10-day period, then we went back for preseason round 2, second leg of preseason. It was also about 2.5 week segment. And that was a lot more games. We played against Revolution and FC Cincinnati, as well as I'm blanking. I don't know. I can't remember. But
That's all right.
Yeah, so I still got to get some more MLS minutes, and that was really cool just to sort of feel things out and, just get used to the speed of play and get used to some of the teams that we're going to be playing. But yeah, I think it was a really good start, and I feel like I'm in a really good place right now with the group and with the coaching staff, and I feel like I've really found my feet and found my rhythm and kind of understand what we're trying to do from a tactic and also just like our playing style and also like what's being asked of the goalkeepers. So it's been really good so far.
Awesome. Okay, so we'll jump back into our talk about preseason and this year so far. I want to talk about a little bit about challenges, and like I said, you guys leave this up to, I'll leave it up to you. You don't have to get into a lot of detail. You don't have to get super personal. Completely your choice. But like Dane, and we haven't talked much either about like where you guys sit in the, are you number 1? Are you number 2? Are you number 3? Obviously, that stuff is different at the pro level, but obviously everybody wants to be on the field. So let's start with you, Dane. Let's talk a little bit about, this year, challenges you faced so far, expectations, challenges looking ahead, and kind of how you've dealt with that or how you're dealing with it and sort of where you want to go.
Yeah. So, I mean, to start off, I'm going into the season with the expectation of being the number 1 choice for the season, and that's kind of how it's been playing out so far in the preseason. Started every preseason match to date, gone about 60 in each of them, and yeah, but that's not something where I'm complacent with it, or it's assumed that I'm going to be a number 1. It's something that I'm proving every day. It's a continual process. Like to my coaches, teammates, but more importantly myself. Like I'm really learning how to believe that myself. I am a number 1 goalkeeper. I'm an elite goalkeeper. And I've known that at the youth level. Like when I was there, I'm like, okay, I'm an elite goalkeeper here. College, I achieved that same level. I feel like of being at the top of my game, and so now it's a chance to kind of prove yourself all over again, which I'm really excited to do. And just to wrap that into the challenges, like the professional game, there's plenty of challenges to be able to achieve that high level that Ben and I and you as well, Hunter, kind of have gotten used to over the courses of our careers. And so for me, like it sounds really cliche, but the biggest challenge for me, I guess, like last season and going into this season, which I was aware of because of my experience in that latter half of the year last year, is just consistency. As a goalkeeper, I mean, we're the position on the field that's supposed to be the rock of the team, that even keel type of player that is really just always has their fingers on the pulse of the team and what it needs in certain moments, what it doesn't need. when to inject some fire into the team, when to cool it down, with game management, and then also just learning how to be consistent with your performance and, making saves, playing out of the back, distribution, decision making, all these things that go into being like a top level goalkeeper. It's impossible for us to get every single decision right or make every single save. And that's another challenge that I've been facing as well for a while now is learning how to change myself from a mindset of perfectionism to just a mindset of excellence. And I feel like I'm really making a lot of strides with that. And I think, yeah, just continually pushing my comfort zone in many ways, like on and off the field, whether that's like, reading more books and trying to learn and hammering down my habits in the day to day, my routines. One of my coaches is the goalkeeper coach actually at Loudoun right now, Omar, he likes to say that, the biggest indicator of how much of a competitor you are is your discipline. And that's something that really has resonated with me over the course of preseason because I kind of like the fact that this preseason is very long and grueling and not just that like 10 to 14 days that you get in college, because it's given me a chance to really like hone in on my routines and discipline and like learn what it's like to be disciplined, like to be professional. You have to live, eat, breathe being a professional footballer, especially if you want to get to the highest level, whatever your max potential might be. And I don't know what that is for myself. I have thoughts of what it may be. But yeah, if you want to reach your maximum potential, you have to be committed to being a professional footballer in all facets of life, not just when you step onto the field between those two lines for a couple hours a day. And so that was a challenge for me. It was like learning, okay, this job is not just when I show up to the training facility and it's over when I leave. It's like making sure you're getting your sleep, making sure you're doing all the right things that kind of make you tick. And so that's been a very long process for me to learn what that is. And I'm still kind of trying to hammer it down in various ways, but for me, like that's so far so good as far as being able to bring that same level or similar levels of energy, passion, consistency, performance like every single day in training. And yeah, I aspire to be kind of setting the standard on my team, and I feel like that's what I've been doing so far.
That's awesome. I just remember like going from being a college goalkeeper to being a pro goalkeeper, like, and even at the beginning of my career, like I mostly played at like the USL level, had all kinds of different names over the years, but like always at that just below MLS level. And the seasons were, a little shorter earlier in my career and then about the same length that they are now, which is not that different between USL and the MLS. But like, it's such a difference learning how to be a 10 to 11-month player. Like, not saying that whole time is in season, but like your time with your team, a 10 to 11-month commitment is such a different thing than even in college when you're with your team for that amount of time and in school with them and training in the fall and the spring, but you're really only in a competitive schedule with all those expectations for like 4 months. And for me, I think that was one of the biggest changes, was just figuring out how to, do exactly what you talked about, like develop these habits and this discipline about just going day to day to day. And then I think later in my career, like becoming sort of a starter for the first time. And that's hopefully what you're going to experience this year, Dane, and the challenges that you haven't experienced yet that come with like, that expectation of being the number one week in, week out, and like having less than perfect performances and making mistakes. Because I mean, if you were a number one on a college team, then maybe you're making 2 or 3 mistakes. If you're a really good number one, you're making 2 to 3 mistakes in a season that probably, have implications for your team conceding a goal. If you're doing less than that, then you're like a superhuman. Do you know what I mean? But like, So you have to multiply that out over, 8 months of competition, 7 months of competition, and that's going to be 6, 7, 8 bad mistakes, and like that can be difficult to manage. So,
Yeah. I can
like
go
being able
off.
to work and being able to work with staff that like get that and get to work with you, and you, I think you're going to be judged less on like the fact that you make those mistakes or don't make those mistakes, but be judged on how you respond to them. And I think that's also how your peers, even those peers that are have more experience than you, those teammates that you have that are looking to you for consistency, like they're going to judge you based on how they see you respond in those moments. And if they see you respond in a way that's like, he's pretty much the same dude, like he just threw the ball in the goal or passed the ball to the other team and they tapped it in and like went on to have a great game after that and didn't appear rattled, like that's where you can really gain some, I think, respect and belief that, this guy can be our number one now. And it's an uphill battle, but you'll do fine with it. And
Yeah,
I didn't
just
mean
going
to
off
talk
that
that
for a
long.
second if I can.
Yeah.
I actually already had a similar experience to that. Like second game of preseason, we drew on the road at Richmond 1-1, and as a team we had a pretty subpar performance. And it was kind of blindsided everyone, I think, because we had a really positive performance against Red Bull, and it was a situation where we're a new team, we don't know each other yet, and so there were a lot of like growing pains that day of like guys really being negative towards each other, and it's kind of that natural butting head stage where everyone's trying to figure out what their role is in the team, like top dogs might be trying to assert themselves and that kind of thing.
Sure.
And so that whole team dynamic was kind of playing out simultaneously with me, having probably subpar performance myself. The goal that Richmond scored, I should have done better on. Didn't push the rebound to a good enough area, and yeah, kind of left it at a striker's foot, and it went in. And I remember, some of the meetings and conversations we had around that game were obviously centered on me and that play. And I'm sure we've all been there as goalkeepers where you shoulder that responsibility for the goal conceded, even though 6 or 7 things might have happened before that goal goes in where players can affect that play. And so yeah, of course those things were addressed in the meeting, and yeah, the mistake on my end is obviously just so much more visible to the team. It's like, oh well, Dane needs to be making that save, right? And it kind of leaves you in a pretty vulnerable position, and I would say even like a lonely position. But I think, like you said, Hunter, like for me, I enlisted the help of my coaches instead of like fearing what they thought of me for that. I was like fully honest and transparent with them. I was like, you know what, like we're going to work this out. Here's what I was thinking on this play. Here's what I think I could do better. And they're like, yeah, we know you're better than this. We know you'll be better for it. And yeah, so I wasn't really afraid to be vulnerable in that moment because I knew that's what it required, even though like I might have felt a little bit targeted in that moment. And yeah, I think hopefully I'm gaining the respect of my teammates for that and like how I rebounded from that mistake. So I think it's a really good point you make there.
That's awesome. And I hate hearing when those things happen, but like, I think that the further I get down this path, and now like having been on the coach side of it for so long, like I get excited about hearing about opportunities to bounce back and like hearing when you did bounce back and like it went okay for you, because the only consistent thing in this position is mistakes and conceding goals, and it's a lot of stuff that sucks, and the longer you're around it the more you get that, but that makes the positive moments that much more positive. So Ben, you've been quiet over there for a minute, so let's talk. No,
Nah,
great.
don't sweat
Ben,
it.
let's hear about your experience so far, your kind of expectations for this year, and this is a question down the road, but since we're getting tight on time, maybe talk to you a little bit about sort of your place in the team and the depth chart. And you touched on that a little bit, and getting to fill in for as the number 2 in some preseason due to injury, but talk about like your expectations, challenges, where fitting in to the team is probably way different than in all of your other experiences up into this point in your life, and how that's going, and kind of your goals and how you see that playing out this season.
Okay, yeah. So I think, as you were saying, the number one, I guess, challenge and also goal for me as soon as we went into preseason was, how can I establish myself in a super experienced group? Probably we might be like the oldest MLS roster. So like it's a very, very tight knit group of like super experienced guys. And I think,
I mean, Dax McCarty's like what, 44 years old?
yeah. So yeah, but
I played against him in college. He scored on me in college. That should put some perspective on things. I think he was a freshman, but I was a junior or a senior, and he scored on me. I remember that at Clemson when he was playing for North Carolina.
Well, now he's scoring on me. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think as soon as I could sort of switch my mentality going in was always like, prove why you need to be here, like gain the trust of your peers and also the staff. And I think like, that was really important for me moving forward, because it sort of helped me develop all the things like Dana was talking about, like habits and like being a professional. And like there's obviously, like there's days where it's hard and you don't want to go out there and fight to try to get into a really experienced group. So I think like hammering down those habits, like doing the same activation, the same lift, the same sort of preparation for training, just helps you get into that mindset to be like, like I'm going to battle today, just like all the other days, just trying to get into this group. And I feel like, having said that, after preseason, I gained some of that trust just from like showing them, like I can play in the games and like how I can be good in training. And like, obviously, as a young goalkeeper, like there's a lot of things that I need to continue working on, but it's like just developing that base trust and, just kind of proving why you're there in the first place was really important for me. So I think now, moving forward into the season, like my goal is obviously like push to number 2 and try and get rostered for games. And then on the other hand, I'm also going to be playing pretty much every weekend with the second team. And like, that's a really awesome experience for me because, I still sort of have that environment where I am the number 1 and I'm a first team player coming down to play with the second team. And, you garner a lot of respect and, it's awesome to still be able to be playing games at a high level. So I think, I mean, Dane and I are gonna have the same problems because it's like, to two young professional goalkeepers, and like, even the best guys kind of struggle with the same things. Like I feel like you can always be more consistent, in training and in games. So I feel like, the first couple of weeks was sort of me just finding my rhythm, finding my place within the group, and just sort of like establishing my routine and how I'm going to approach training and like the things that I really want to work on. And a big thing for us, like our goalkeeping group is, we're 3 really big goalkeepers who are really good shot stoppers, and like there's a really large emphasis on working on the other things like distribution and crosses and all that other stuff and playing out of the back. So I think it's good for us. We're constantly being challenged to work on the things that, that aren't our strong suit. But yeah, I think there's something to be said about, if every single day you're working on something that that's not your best thing, then that can sort of mess with your mental state a little bit, because you're going to be failing and you're going to be making mistakes a lot. So I think being able to sort of remove yourself from that and be like, I am a really good goalkeeper and like I have things that I'm really good at, and sort of still trying to make those things shine in training and in games while you're working on these other things is really important for me and our entire goalkeeper group. So yeah, I mean, there's 100 different things that we want to work on and we want to get better at, but it's going to just
what a
try
group. Three monsters.
Yeah. When they
It's
call us
all
the
three of you
Clydes,
6'6". All three of you on the 6'6" on the roster, right?
Yeah, it's a big group.
The
Who's the number
Clydesdales.
2?
Elliot Panico.
Gotcha. Big
He's at
boys.
UNC Charlotte. Is that where he went?
Yep. Yes.
That's what
He
I
was on
thought.
loan in the championship last year. Remember?
Yeah, he's been around the championship. All very good dudes.
I do want to talk a little bit about background and so some advice you guys could give to some up and coming keepers. But at the same time, I also want to talk about, like, I think it's always important to talk about what surprised you, because we always go into situations with expectations, and I feel like the longer you're around this stuff, the more you start to realize that, like, expectations are just like, they just set you up for failure. Do you know what I mean? And surprise can be positive,
True.
surprise can be negative, but like for both of you, like this season, it could be relationships with other goalkeepers. It could be, completely different style of training from a goalkeeper coach. Like it could be, the group of guys is just way cooler than you thought, or that there's some restaurant that you like nearby. I don't know, but like what's been sort of one thing that's been a completely and total surprise for you so far this season? Dane, we'll let you go first. I'm trying to be fair here.
I'd say in a very positive way, like the lack of ego in the locker room is something that I've been pleasantly surprised with. I feel like we have a pretty high level buy-in from the group across the board. And yeah, I think from that perspective, like that is a really good starting point, because then you can really start to build like trust between players, from players to staff, when you know that everyone is there for the same reason and the same purpose, which is, to win games, for us to make the playoffs. I mean, that's something that we've been pretty clear about. Because Loudoun has never made playoffs in its first couple of years being in the championship. So yeah, like I think we all are coming here, from our various backgrounds, whether it's like someone like myself who's been here last year, or guys coming from the MLS ranks who like weren't quite able to break in there and are kind of almost trying to like take a step backward, take 3 forward. Those guys have been really good coming in and like pushing the standard of the group and using their leadership in a good way. So yeah, that's been a pleasant surprise. And I'd also say, for me, I've been surprised on like how much I can affect on the field. Even though like as goalkeepers, you might think that we're not involved in a lot, and that like we might only make 1 or 2 saves over the course of a game. This is something I've always been told in college and stuff like that, but I think it's a little bit different when like you're there and you're in it and like you're doing it as a job, and like something that you're, almost spending every waking hour thinking about is different. You realize the different ways that you can affect the game in other ways besides just making saves or making distribution and stuff like that. So that's something I've been working on in my game a lot the past couple of weeks, is expanding that sphere of influence. Like, maybe I'm like feeling really solid at communicating with my back line. So now it's like, how can I start to organize my midfielders, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that all of that communication and that influence you have within the team it makes our job easier, because instead of maybe facing 4 high quality chances a game, maybe it's only 1 or 2, and so I'm more ready for those moments in the game because there's not as much being asked of me. And then obviously that helps the team. Like whatever I do, I'm priding myself on gearing it towards team success, because I know that individually I'll get to wherever I want to be through using the team as that vehicle. So yeah, I think those are the 2 positive surprises that I've encountered so far.
Very cool. I had something that popped into my head and I completely forgot what I was going to say, but maybe it will come back to me. Oh yeah, it was just around the idea of like, I think I was a pretty average, like professional goalkeeper, like at my level. And I had some success and,
Nah.
some years that were okay, some
Disagree.
years that were great. But like one of my strengths that I always doubled down on that I think allowed me to have whatever level of positive impact I did have was just what you're talking about. And it was not as much like technique. It was not as much like how I make saves or how I could distribute the ball or any of those things. But like early on, I don't know what coaches put this idea in my head, but like the influence and impact that you can have through not just communication, because obviously I think communication is such a big deal and it's undercoached, and it, you know, obviously it can do all the positive things you were talking about there, but like I think like, and this is like a double-edged sword, but like emotion and body language, you know, when you have a strong relationships with the players on the team, like that can be such a, you know, impactful tool. It can also be negative, like because my problem was always that I was usually over revved. Do you know what I mean? So like I always brought probably a little too much hype into things, and you know, it wasn't until probably the last 4 or 5 years of my playing career that I really sort of figured out, or not figured out, but started to understand the other side of that coin too, like the appropriate times to be calm and that your team could feel the calm. And I was probably giving myself too much credit because I don't really think that I ever really figured that part of it out. But I did figure out that like I didn't need to be listening to like hype up music and taking caffeine before games by the end of my career, because it didn't help with all those things. But I just think it's really cool to hear you, Dane, already kind of starting to see and feel that. And all I would say is like continue to double down on one, the interpersonal relationships. Like it's so important that you build that trust and that the guys in your team, like, not that they like you, but like it is important, right? That goes a long way. Yeah,
Yeah.
trust 100%. And then like not just communication being the words that you say. Obviously, I think body language is that sort of unflappable, unstoppable body language, and projecting that like unaffectedness, like the I don't give a whatever attitude. You should always look like that. You know what I mean? Like, and being able to sort of fake it when it's not going that way, like the sooner you can start to figure that stuff out, like knowing that, all right, my response to that mistake is I am, you know, we can all talk about like positive self-talk and like not doing those bad things, but it's not going to be that immediately. Like your first response in your head is going to be negative, and like being able to catch that and like keep it from showing up. Do you know what I mean? So that others can notice it, to the point where, you know, you're even surprising teammates and they're like, whoa, like, does he even know that he just screwed up? Like, I think that's when you can get to a really impactful level. And that's stuff that's hard to coach. And that only kind of comes from being out there on the field with your teammates and losing games and winning games and having an impact.
I think it also comes from learning about yourself too, which like takes a lot of effort emotionally, and obviously it's a time commitment to explore yourself through various means. And so yeah, like I'm learning about myself that, you know, over the past couple of years, like maybe I've been a little bit too even keel and too cool in certain things, and I'm starting to learn now how to bring some of that fire that you might have had a little bit too much of in your career, and I'm starting to learn, okay, like I have that within me, and I just need to let that part of me show. And that honestly is like helped take my game to another level, because I'm not like concerned about like what anyone thinks of me. I'm just like, you know what, this is who I am, like take it or leave it. And I honestly think that like the team will benefit from that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that point about this is me, this is who I am, take it or leave it. Ben, what's been your big surprise?
I think honestly, coming from Philly and being an academy kid, my expectations of pro soccer were like just so different than what it actually turned out to be, in a good way. I mean, you know, like Dane, you can speak to this as well. Like when you're an academy kid and you're training with the first team, you're kind of just, you know, you're just like happy to be there, and you're just kind of getting pushed around, and whatever like they need you to do, you do, and you kind of just do it with a smile on your face, and you don't make too much ruckus, and you kind of just stay out of everyone's way. And then
Ideally.
I think, yeah. And then I mean, I think coming into a proper MLS environment as a pro, I think what surprised me, or not even, I was just pleasantly surprised by the personalities on the group, because I feel like there's so many big players in this group and who've had a lot of success, and there's a lot of experience. And I was interested to see like how am I going to fit into this? Like, what are these guys going to be like? How am I going to be treated? And it's honestly been class. Like, I think, coming in, even though you're a young guy, like they expect you to be on the same leadership level that they're on. And, even they've been playing in the league forever. And I think that it's really helpful for the young guys coming in to sort of be pushed and like see that expectation of leadership and professionalism. And I think that's going to be really beneficial for me in the long run, just kind of being pushed immediately coming in. Like, even though you're 20 years old and you're a rookie, like you need to be on the same level as us when it comes to professionalism and leadership and all that stuff, and effort and training and all that. So I think seeing that super high standard was really exciting for me. But it's also like, these guys are also really good guys, and they're kind of showing you how to be a pro off the field and how they handle themselves. And you can pick up a lot of different things, and like just see the way they treat support staff and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I think you get to see all the habits of guys who have done it, I guess, quote unquote, the right way, and have been a pro for a long time. And you kind of get to pick up those habits, and that's really exciting.
Cool. Good answers from both of you guys. I'm like bubbling with excitement. We're gonna finish in less than like 9 minutes here, I think, for real. And then we're gonna talk about one more thing, and I think this one's like, this is like the piece that we're gonna. This is your opportunity to give back a little bit. So you're both from Pittsburgh, right? So this is not just relative to Pittsburgh. Like, this is relevant to anyone that might be growing up in a market where, like, for whatever reason, like, is not known for developing top soccer talent. And there's a lot of that out there, in the country. I grew up in South Carolina, very similar to Western Pennsylvania in that way. Like, and both of you guys are examples of players that made the decision before you'd finished high school to go somewhere else, right? Because you felt like that gave you a better opportunity to pursue your dreams. So I guess if you can kind of put this all into one, like what does it mean to like make it, to be one of those few that have, I don't want to say gotten out, because that puts a bad sort of spin on it, but one of those few pro players that have gotten out from this region. And then, like, why do you think it's hard for players from here to get out? And then, like, what advice do you give? So that's like a 3-part question. It's like, what's it mean to get out? Why is it so hard to get out of here to get the opportunity? And then what advice? And the advice probably is part of that as well. So who wants to go first?
Well, this is tough. I think we should just piggyback and just take this one together.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Let's do that. Let's go back and forth.
All right.
So what's it mean to make it out?
Make it out. I
All your
mean,
peers that haven't, all those other good players that you thought were good enough or better than you, like.
yeah, I mean, there's definitely not a better term to use than get out from the community we hold so dearly. But
Exactly.
yeah, I think, what does it mean to get out? I mean, I think it was never like, I was never approaching soccer in Pittsburgh and growing up as like an opportunity to sort of get out of there. It was more just like, this is something I'm really passionate about, and I'm really thankful for Pittsburgh and the soccer community there to sort of fostered my growth and kind of helped me find my passion in that, and sort of helped me formulate a plan for different steps to sort of just continue reaching for the next level. But yeah, it was never something that like I really even thought about, like, because I love Pittsburgh, and it wasn't like trying to leave. And at one point, even early in my career, when I was like 14, 15 at Riverhounds with when I got to train with the first team a little bit, I was like, this is great. Like, this, if I'm going to be a professional soccer player, like, this is where I would want to be. Like, this is the level that I want to reach. And I think that sort of just speaks to, and Dane, you had the same experience. And I think that sort of just speaks to like developing that passion and that excitement for soccer and professional soccer, which sort of just makes you just approach the next steps with even more excitement and even more determination to kind of just be like, you know what, like, this is something I'm really good at, and I'm really passionate about it, and like, let me just see where I can take this and just see how I can grow and what I can do with this. And I think, even though Pittsburgh isn't really known for its soccer opportunities and in the community, but there's still like a lot of excitement around the game, and there's a lot of different clubs. And like, Dane, you can speak to this as well, like even the little clubs like Arsenal versus Riverhounds, so much passion in that debate. So like there's still a lot of passion and a lot of excitement within that community that makes it so much more exciting to sort of be able to be like, I took that next step, and like, you're surrounded by peers who are all extremely excited for you because you're doing something, getting out of, a community that's not really known for its youth soccer opportunities. So
Okay, very diplomatic answer, and I'll appreciate it all. We're not trying to throw anyone under the bus. That's not what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to cast any sort of negativity in anyone's direction. So I think Dane's answer would probably be similar there. So Dane, I'll let you sort of talk about why did you guys feel like you had to try to find another opportunity? Why did you feel like DC was the right step, or Philly was the right step? Like, why is it so hard here, like, to find the opportunities to get on the radar of, youth national teams or MLS academies? Like, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ben put it very well, just as far as what it means to make it from Pittsburgh. So I'll kind of circle back to that after I answer your question, Hunter. I think what makes it difficult being a Pittsburgh native is just the fact that the highest level of youth soccer just does not exist in the area. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. I mean, when I was with Riverhounds Academy, we were in, at the time, Super Y League, just going and playing, showcases, tournaments, etc. on the weekends, and we didn't have like consistent high quality league play to engage in. So you're pretty limited as far as the coaches you're getting in front of, whether that's college or national team scouts or whatever your ambition might be. Personally, I was very fortunate because the Riverhounds had a very solid structure in place, and I'm sure you can attest to this, Hunter, in your time there. There's a very solid structure in place as far as college recruitment and people working behind the scenes to make sure that we got seen, that whether, we're telling coaches, bombarding them with emails, here, Dane's playing at X field at X time. It made it really easy for me because I didn't have to worry about a lot of that. And at the same time, I think I found maybe a little bit of luck that like other players in the area might not have had, because we didn't have that many opportunities to showcase ourselves. Like, I had to make sure that I was on my game pretty much all the time, because you never know who's watching, and we don't have that many opportunities to show what we got. And for me, like, I went to one U.S. youth national team camp when I was with the RDA, and I was one of two players at that camp who were not playing for a development academy at the time. The other guy was from Sacramento Republic Academy. And for me, yeah, I felt like super out of place there, to be honest. So, like, all these guys from DAs like know each other, play against each other, we're national team camps together, like all that. And I definitely very much like felt like an outsider in that camp. It was down at IMG when I was 16 years old, and super thankful and like glad I had that experience because it was a great growing experience for me. But at the same time, like I didn't have my best performance there because I felt a little bit on the outside looking in. And that just kind of goes back to her point of like being that Pittsburgh kid, maybe with a little bit of like a chip on your shoulder of like, we have something to prove. We have, a goal of like putting this area on the map. And definitely the national soccer community. And I think, hopefully like kids can kind of draw a little bit of inspiration on what Ben and I, are doing and what we will go on to do in our careers, because it shows you that like with enough discipline and hard work, like you can get to where you want to be, even if that means, you have to go elsewhere to achieve that highest level, which both of us had to do, whether that's Philly, DC, whatever it is. There's always going to be that extra level that you can get to, which might not exist in Pittsburgh. Hopefully it does further down the line. But as it is right now, like there are different levels to get to. And so I think Ben and I both recognize that from a pretty young age, that whether it's leaving Pittsburgh to go to DC or Philly, or wherever that, MLS Next program or development academy at the time, whatever it might morph to be in the future, whatever that is, Ben and I both knew there was something out there a little bit higher and more ambitious to get to, and I don't think we were afraid to like take that leap of faith, even if that meant living with I don't know what your situation was there, Ben, or like relatives, host family, stuff like that. It was hard.
I did it all.
Yeah, I'll bet you and I have been there. Like, I'm sure like a couple other guys can attest to this. Like, I know Harper Cook, for example, a kid that I played with, and my time in the Riverhounds DA. He goes to Columbus for a year to push himself and try to find that extra level. And it's very difficult, and we can all attest to that. Like, going away from home is tough, but it also made us a hell of a lot stronger as people and as players to have done that experience. So I would just say to kids in Pittsburgh who are like looking to make a D1 program, make it to the professional ranks, whatever your goals might be, like look for that. Don't be afraid to take that leap of faith, because like there are plenty of opportunities out there, both in the Pittsburgh region, but also beyond. And yeah, don't be afraid to kind of like set high standards for yourself, even if that means leaving home.
That's my last question for you guys. And you started it, Dane, but like what advice do you have? And so you touched on it there, Ben. Do you have anything further with that? Like if you want, if you're passionate about it, it's all you want to do. And I'm sure you guys, had enough feedback from coaches who knew what they were talking about to like, make you have some belief that this was a realistic, path or goal for you. But like, so I think that's important too, because obviously if you got to get someone that sort of has an understanding of what's going on to ground you in reality, because not everyone's going to have the opportunity to go play for an MLS academy. But if you want to get to the highest level, you've got to see how you shake up against the best players that are out there. So Dane, great points. Ben, anything else that you want to leave these kids, and not just kids in Pittsburgh, kids from anywhere? You could even be, you could be a kid in one of these markets that has MLS academy and you can't crack a roster or make a team for whatever your whole career. Doesn't mean you can't get to the college or professional level either. So I think this is a message that's relevant for everyone. So I'll let Ben kind of take us home here, and then I'll let you guys get back to your lives.
Yeah, I mean, I would say obviously Dane and I had really similar youth experiences, and I think although we touched on like it's tough to get out of Pittsburgh and it's not the ideal youth soccer setup, that's not to say that we something that I think we did really well was, although like before we left, we had to really just take advantage and make the most out of the opportunities that we had presented for us. And I think something that was really helpful for us is that we could see, as we were a part of the Riverhounds Academy, we could see the next level guys going off to colleges, like stuff like that. And then above that, we were also seeing guys who were professional soccer players, even if it wasn't at the highest level in the US. And I think that was something that really pushed us to be like, it was never really, or at least for me, I wasn't thinking that I could just there was somewhere else that I could go. That I was thinking like, I need to make the most of what I have here and all the resources I have. And I think that was really helpful for me, because when I saw an opportunity to go somewhere else, it sort of changed my approach, and I had a much more appreciation for guys who are in completely different setups and, environments. And it just, made me work that much harder. And I think, you kind of just have to, someone said this the other day. Taylor Washington said this the other day. He said, you
Shout out to
gotta,
Taylor Washington. Is he the oldest?
yeah,
He's not the oldest. He's the only guy left from the USL
no.
team, right?
Yeah.
In Nashville, yeah. And a former
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Riverhound.
Yeah, true. So it all ties it all together. But I don't know what context he said this. It might have even been in like a joke, but he said the expression "grow where you're planted." So you kind of just have to, you know, make the best use of the opportunities you have, because like for me, my situation, I had no idea that the Philadelphia Union scouts were even around and even paying attention to me. I was at a Penn State ID camp. So like you never know who's watching, and you never know the opportunities that are going to rise. And I think if you're really passionate about this is what you want to do, I think you just have to make the most of what you have, and do the extra work so that you're prepared when these opportunities arise, because you really never know what's going to happen.
I love it. My dad always said something growing up. Let's see, what was it? I can't remember. It was like opportunity, preparation, and hard work. I can't remember. Something about exactly what you just said, right? Like if you're doing the hard work, and putting the time in, doing all the right things, opportunities will come. Preparation.
Yeah, you make
Opportunities come when preparation meets opportunity. I'm leaving out the end part. Success happens when preparation meets opportunity. Is that exactly what you said? Probably was.
no, I know what you're talking about though. I've heard that expression before.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys are both great examples of guys who've been doing the hard work and the preparation, since I met you. And I'm very thankful for the opportunity I've had to know you guys as long as I have, and to watch you, grow into young men, and to take these next steps in your career. And as much as you're in different situations, you're kind of in similar situations. Ben with you getting to go out to the second team, and Dane with you getting to go in as a number one this year. So you both get that opportunity to kind of grow and get games and be that number one on the field this year. So I'm just really excited to see what's going to happen. And I'm really thankful that you guys have taken all this time. I know we went a lot longer than we were expecting to, but hopefully someone out there listens to this and can take something, valuable from it. And if not, then, it was fun for me. So
yeah,
I appreciate
we had fun,
that.
so no worries.
Yeah. And it'd be cool. Maybe we'll check back in again, mid-season or after the season, and see how everything's going. If you guys are up for it, if you're not charging a fee by then.
Yeah, I think
we'll be
a quote of paid appearances, so we can make that happen.
All right. Well, guys, have a great season. Good luck as you get started. We'll certainly be paying attention. And thanks for everything.
Thanks, Hunter. Really
Thanks, Hunter.
For us, and yeah, just for Pittsburgh soccer as a whole as well.
All right, guys.
Thanks for listening to the GK4FREE podcast. Find more from us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check out our YouTube page, youtube.com/Hunter Gilstrap Goalkeeping. Give us a follow on Instagram. Our handle is @ProPlayerGK. There you can find out more about the GK4FREE podcast and all about pro player goalkeeping.